Welcome to the first installment of my new series, You Were Lied To. In each episode, I will take about 10 minutes to break down a cultural issue that we've all been lied to about. Today's video will pick apart our overwhelmingly positive perception of small businesses. First, I came for nonprofit organizations, and you guys thought, oh, this girl is crazy. Now I'm hunting down small businesses? But who really cares? I mean, it's not like small businesses are the lifeblood of the economy.
First, small business is the lifeblood of our economies.
I view the small business as lifeblood.
What they forget, Linda, is that small business is what really makes our economy tick. And isn't it small business that we look to first for job creation?
Absolutely. Small business is the engine of our economy.
Small businesses are the engines of our economic progress.
And so we feel that they are the economic engine.
Small business dreamers are a critical spark plug for the overall economy.
The bedrock of the U.S. economy is small businesses.
Small businesses are the backbone of our economy.
I think when you think about what the American dream is, it's the ability to come here and pull yourself up for your bootstraps and work to create a better life for yourself. You know, I can think of no better tangible illustration of that than small businesses, which again are really the lifeblood of Americans' economy.
Okay, so I'm not really coming for small businesses the same way I went for nonprofits. Really, my focus with this video is to call into question how we speak about small businesses. Politicians, business moguls, journalists, they all love bringing up their importance, but where does that sentiment come from, and how is it even agreed upon by people who are supposed to be at opposite ends of a political and economic spectrum? I mean, even Joe Biden and PragerU agree that small business is the engine?
Small businesses are the engines.
But small business is the engine of...
I'm no mechanic, but I'm pretty sure that's not how engines work. To be clear, I'm one of those freaks that wants to
abolish private property.
But for the sake of argument, I will remain rooted in our current reality, which is some form of neoliberal capitalism. My first assumption is that people who bring up small businesses in an argument are simply virtue signaling. Like if I told my kid, it's time to go to bed, and she said, no, I don't want to, I would simply say, okay, that's nice, go to bed. But if I said, hey, it's time for bed, and she replied by saying, Mommy, going to bed is bad for small businesses, which are essentially the marshmallows of the economy, well, then I would look like the bad guy, wouldn't I? That's essentially what lawmakers and pundits do when they use small businesses to defend their policies. For example, if a state government wanted to raise taxes on the ultra-wealthy, but some Fox News lady says, that's socialism! Don't you see how raising taxes on the ultra-wealthy is going to crush small businesses? Then 50% of the population is going to say, hey yeah, I don't want that. Time to lower taxes on the ultra-rich. Let's talk about our favorite ultra-rich person, Jeff Bezos. Amazon typically pays between 0% and 1.2% in income taxes. Heavy emphasis on the 0%. The average corporate tax rate is around 21%. Just for 2020, that would have been $3 billion in taxes instead of the $162 million that Amazon paid. Where's my $2,838 million, Jeff? If lawmakers really cared about small businesses as much as they say they do, they would tax Amazon a little bit more and use some of that money to take the burden off of small businesses. Maybe by subsidizing them or making sure that small business owners aren't responsible for providing health care. Personally, I don't see why one's access to health care is tied to one's employment, but that's a different topic. So where does this idea that small business is the wheels of the economy come from? Perhaps it comes from our love of ingenuity and entrepreneurship. Maybe it's us projecting because we love our local businesses, and maybe some of us wish we had the means to own one. Please don't take any of my criticisms of small business as an endorsement of big business, because I hate those even more. Small businesses can provide a ton of benefits to a community. Let's start out by talking about the good. Small businesses take an average neighborhood and make it special. Without those places, what would we have? Just the town Walmart and a CVS on every corner. Nobody wants that. Small business has meaning, and it brings people together in a way that a chain never could. I also want to point out that there's a big difference between a 50-person company and a sole proprietorship. If you own your own cat grooming business and you're the only employee, what you're doing is providing a service with your own labor, and that's pretty pure in my opinion. It's when the owner begins to earn money off of their employees' labor that things get weird. That said, let's talk about the not-so-nice side of things. First of all, the term small business includes multi-million-dollar companies who can have over 1,000 employees, according to the SBA.
I'm also a small business owner. I run a venture capital fund here in New York,
But when someone talks about how environmental regulations will negatively impact small business, we think about the mom and pop shop on the corner, don't we? That's no accident either, and the phrase mom and pop really paints a sweet little picture in your mind. But whether you are a struggling mom and pop restaurant or an up to $600 million mom and pop credit union, you're profiting off the labor of others. There's that classic joke, right, where the guy pulls up to work, and after he parks, the boss pulls up next to him in a brand new, bright red Corvette. The boss hops out of the car and says to the guy, "Hey, keep showing up, keep working hard, and maybe someday I'll be able to buy another one." I know some people have loved working for small business owners, but ask yourself, how much money did you generate for the company versus how much you received? And I know other people who hated working for small business, but it seemed preferable to working for some big company. That might be true, and big business is truly awful, but unlike big businesses, many smaller ones don't comply with labor laws the way that corporations are forced to. Wage theft is extremely common in small companies. Anyone who's worked at Olive Garden knows you were forced to take your 10 and your 30. But anyone who's worked down at Dan's Deli knows that nobody ever got a paid break ever. What about overtime? Vacation? Anything? Plus, you feel too bad asking Dan to provide you with health care because you know he doesn't drive a Corvette. No, he owns a 2017 Chevy. And a house. He's like hardly ever there. He's seriously gone on like 3 fishing trips already this year. Yeah, screw Dan. He's the real enemy, always exploiting my labor. But Kilgore, shouldn't having a house and a nice life be attainable? Shouldn't a person who owns a business be able to afford a reasonably nice life for themselves? Yeah, but the problem is, while he's attaining a reasonably nice life, everyone he employs is barely scraping by. Another bad thing about small business is that it's vulnerable. In the past 5 years, I've bartended at 2 small businesses that closed suddenly. Some call it economic downturn, and others will refer to it as that one bartender who just gives away Blue Label. Either way, overnight I was left without a job. Not only that, but because I didn't have equity in the business, I had nothing to show for all my hard work. Losing your job sucks, and of course it could happen at a big company too. But small businesses are just more vulnerable to recessions. Kilgore, you've just admitted it yourself. These small businesses are powerless. They're just trying to survive in a terrible economy, and all they can do is afford to pay 12 employees, hoping to make a profit for themselves after a couple years of risking everything they have. Yes, that's a great point. In fact, anytime you hear someone talk about how they're the lifeblood or the backbone of America, they also like to cite how important they are by stating that they create 64% of new jobs or they make up 95% of companies. So if this industry is so vast and so important, how are they perceived as powerless? How is it possible that every single lawmaker is concerned for mom and pop, yet they're forced to function at the whim of a market that doesn't protect them? Yeah, that's true. How can they be so universally loved and so vulnerable at the same time? I, for one, am beginning to suspect that we truly live in a society. If you hear someone on TV bring up small business, be wary of their intentions. The owning class is not our friend. The rich are not our friends, but widening the divide between small business owners and their employees is also not our friend. If you are a class-conscious person and a small business owner, just keep in mind that the minute you opened your business, you became positioned against the working class. Not because that's what you want, or because that's how it has to be, but because our system makes it that way. Consider researching co-ops, or just paying your employees more, or voting for the benefit of the working class. Consider being okay with paying more taxes if it benefits your community, which is what you said you wanted to do in the first place, right? Imagine if you weren't under so much financial strain, or worried about big businesses coming into town and doing what you do cheaper and faster. You could focus on creating a good workplace for your employees. Maybe you don't want to be the lifeblood anymore. Maybe you want to be the cool older brother of the economy. Maybe you want to be the fuzzy dice hanging in the windshield of the economy. Anyways, my 10 minutes is up. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe so you're notified of the next installment of the You Were Lied To series. Thank you so much for watching.